Hey y'all, grown black folks talk. The futility of black love iconography, as seen in Will, Jada, Barack, and Michelle. Now, I don't intend for this to be a long video. I am simply saying aloud things that need to be said aloud so that there is a record. There's a lot of opportunity for black women who are going to be truth-based, and there's a tremendous amount of danger for those who want to stick to delusions. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next video. But Will and Jada, back in the news again. And then I thought I would go ahead and swing for the fences because there were so many black women talking about where is my Barack? Thank God that question was never answered for you. And I'll get into why I said that in just a moment. But let me preface it by saying, remember that the idols that are put in front of you are there to encourage you to tap into the world system. And the world system, as encompassed by the American dream, is based on ego, greed, pride, and malice. If you have an argument about that, ask how your African self got here and what happened to your native relatives. And if you have any poor whites in your family, they're going to have some stories to tell you too about how they were treated. We're going to be we just left, Columbus Day has become such an embarrassment. It's not on every calendar. I'm looking at one, couldn't find it, so people didn't even know it was a holiday in a lot of places. People are embarrassed about it, but we're also not going to tell the truth about Thanksgiving either. That's another video, but the point is, we have all these wonderful American ideals that people want to celebrate, but then you look at what actually happened here. Now, to a certain extent, the ideals did win out. The fact that I'm able to have this conversation with you meant that there were enough people who finally agreed that the daily crimes against humanity against African people in slavery should be stopped. There were enough people who believed that. So American ideals, let's just say truth and righteousness does win out in the United States of America sometimes. But at the same time, you have to now go and fit, why is black love being pushed to you, particularly as a black woman, at this moment in history? Because the American system is doing what it always does. It needs certain numbers of people. Capitalism in general needs this, but communism does also. A certain number of people are the bottom, the permanent underclass, the lumpen proletariat. For those of you that think communism is an answer, you better go read more of Marx in the Communist Manifesto. He put us in the lumpen proletariat who cannot be moved into the experience. Go into the experiment. Go read it. So you have idols put up there without you knowing the details. The problem about Will and Jada Smith is that Mrs. Smith, well, actually, both of them have been very voluble, had a lot to say about their marriage, and recently came out that they've been living separately for the last 7 years. But what I really have to say about them is this. Why are they staying married? Because they want to. You have to ask. And my view, my opinion channel has done better covers of this than I'm going to here. I just want you to kind of cast your mind back 15 years and what this was like. I mean, they were gold. They were a power couple. They were a Hollywood power couple. Well, the reality of life is Will Smith is darn near a billionaire. And as the song says, it's sometimes cheaper to keep her than making whoopee. It's sometimes cheaper to keep her because he's going to have to give her about $450 million to walk out the door. And then, as much as Mrs. Smith seems to want everybody in their business, and understand we have messy adulteries, we have assault cases that were not filed, we have all kind of stuff that we've just seen recently. But when you really dig into this marriage, this was a sham. But it looked good for ego and pride and greed. We only found out about the malice later. It looked good. But it is futility because that's not love. It's not. It's not. Does not fit. Love comes with joy and peace. Don't have peace. Gentleness, goodness, patience, meekness, faith, and self-control. No. Justice and righteousness. No. Go back over the last 15 years and see what their children have been going through and see if those 9 things all went together in that house. Futility, to have that as an ideal. Futility. What is futility? What's on my mind? Of course, you've probably heard the name of a ship called Titanic, and more recently, and we have even discussed the name of a submersible called Titan, but they both get their names from a 19th century ship mentioned in a book, and it also comes up in the Encyclopedia Britannica that this actually did happen around 1815 or thereabouts. A couple folks named their ship the Titan, and if you know your Greek mythology at all, the Titans took on the Greek gods that were Zeus and the rest. And if you read your Bible really carefully, you find out there are some demons that are already chained in a place called Tartarus who burst some bounds. So this kind of the Zoroastrians have a version of this as well. This comes up in a lot of different belief systems. But the point is, it's futility because you're gonna do all this and and like the Greeks said, the dice of the gods are loaded. You know, you're gonna rebel, and you think you're doing something, and your defeat is determined before you even start the rebellion. Well, the Titans lost against the Greeks. The 19th century Titan sunk. The 20th century Titanic sunk, and we've already talked about Stockton Rush and his implosion on the submersible. Futility. Futility. If you are interested in love, idolizing the black love figures that have been put up in front of you, futility. And that brings me, because I'm going to go ahead and swing for the fences, because I'm not going to touch this subject. I don't intend to touch this subject that many more times. So many black women going, where is my Barack? And then black men coming back up, well, you're not Michelle. And I'm like, all of y'all are missing the point. All of you are missing the point. That's the next short video, which will be just as brutal. But the next short video, we need to stop having love does not exist where you have regressive conversations because love is the most forward-looking thing there is. Love himself is eternal. Love is eternal, even in a general sense. It does not stop because a particular group of people dies. It moves on. Someone else later on will find love in that lineage and things keep moving. That's the next video. But Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Let me tell you something. I need you to hear me well. I'm going to say the end part twice because this is considered almost anathema. We almost worship these people. This is a black couple at the absolute top of American power. But I already said this is a system that idolizes ego, pride, greed, and malice. So if you see people at the top of it, do not be deceived. And the way that you know this about President Obama, if you do not know it any other way, imagine that the people who went the hardest for you to be elected, who voted for you, in a particular town called Flint, Michigan, they have had to drink water that has poisoned them and their children for years before you came. You fly out there to talk to them, sip the water, and tell them it's all good now, right? And do nothing. You do not have that governor on the carpet. And there's only so much you can actually do as a president of the United States about a Republican governor, but there was no effort made. He expected them to accept that he being there and just looking in on them and sipping their water was going to make it all okay. He did nothing. And then he authorized the United States military to do live exercises house to house in that same town without the people being warned. Now, they didn't do it on the side of town, to be fair, that a lot of people were living on. There are large parts of Flint that are just like Detroit down the road, pretty much uninhabited. But even so, he picked that town, already going through it, to allow that to happen. Barack Hussein Obama is not an African American in the sense that I am and many of you are. And I'm not saying this to start a diaspora war. I'm going to make a point about Michelle in a minute. He is part Kenyan from East Africa. Michelle taught him a lot of what he knows about how to relate to African Americans. But there's a disconnect there for a reason. Now, it could have been solved, but that actually tells you how much Barack Hussein Obama actually cares about African Americans, what I just told you. So, to be Michelle, that means you're only going to have to do one of two things. If you love African American people and your husband did that, but he's a former president, you have to now spend the rest of your life, if you're going to stay with him, just dealing with the fact that that's who he is. And if you care about African Americans, then that's going to eat you up inside. And that's the price you pay for Black love at the highest. If you don't care about it, you about as trash as he is as a person. Yes, I said that. I'm going to say it again so that y'all make sure that you understand what I just said. If Michelle Obama is okay with her husband having done that to her people, then she's as trash as he is. Because if you decide that you're going to climb the scale in a world system that is built on ego, pride, and malice to get to the top, and this is going to be your goals, where's my Barack? That's the cost you have to pay to be there. And if that's okay to you, you trash. Just like the men who are going the same way are trash. And I mean this in terms of people who casually commit crimes against humanity. Yes, Barack Hussein Obama's crimes are small, perhaps compared to his predecessor, but it doesn't matter. All Black lives matter. Remember? I hope it's not okay to you for Black women to have their children drinking lead and to have any president not doing it. But it was Barack Hussein Obama who came and sipped and pretended everything was okay and left it for Donald Trump to fix, meaning it's still not quite right. There is some work that's been done in the state. But if you cool with that, you trash. So he did that. And he authorized the military exercises. So, having not solved one problem until another one happened, y'all look up white phosphorus and what that can do later on. But, people kind of figure, well, if they have military contamination, oh, well, they already got lead. What difference does it make? If she's okay with it, she's trash too. If she's not okay with it, this is what she just has to swallow for the ideal Black love picture. Just like Will and Jada are going to keep this going because it's too much. It's almost $1 billion worth of stuff to unwind, and having people even more in their business because public court records are there and everybody will go through here and tear it up. Well, multiply that by 1 billion. This is a former president and his wife. Futility. As Black women, we have been through enough already to not be chasing this ideal. I took it as high as it would go. You can't get any higher than Barack and Michelle. That's the stuff that's being sold to us as the thing. No, no. You're going to end up in a loveless situation on a higher level that you cannot get out of. Stop idolizing what is put up in front of you. What you need to focus on, because I said there's a lot of opportunity for Black women who are willing to walk in truth. There's a lot of danger for those that won't. We're coming into a time of massive opportunity and a time of massive destruction at the same time. If you are looking at what's going on a world scale, then you already see both of these things happening at the same time. Okay? Which is why I got to knock down this idol this weekend. And after that, I'm probably done with the subject. These are not fun videos for me to make, but again, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, because if you don't know, this is what's on the table for Black women right now. That's what was on the table. All right, done with that one. I've got one that's even a little bit more rough coming up next, but go lick your wounds. And if you stayed this long, and if you did not absolutely flip out because of what I said about Barack and Michelle, thank you for listening and goodbye.